I'm not getting any out of
Think what this would do. Just imagine what it'll do. I'll tell you what it'll do. It'll create up here, because this is about you more than anything. And I can't say enough about how proud I am of these people in the back, but start all over, Jordan, will you please? Think what this would do. Just imagine what it'll do. I'll tell you what it'll do. It'll create 48,000 jobs in our state.
He had the vision for this road bond program, and really from the outset got out and really worked hard to have citizens understand what he was trying to do.
Now we are on the cusp of doing something that is truly unbelievable.
What he recognized is that there's been a remarkable lack of investment in infrastructure over the last 10 years, and we've really gotten behind. So the first thing he wanted to accomplish was make West Virginia better with improving its infrastructure.
Now, October the 7th is an important day.
We just heard from West Virginia Governor Jim Justice declaring victory in his road bond referendum.
Because a lot of people for weeks thought this vote might be very close. In the end, it was an absolute blowout.
Governor Jim Justice has long predicted this program will generate 48,000 new jobs over the next 10 years.
And now it all starts. Now the work starts. Now the hiring starts. Now the jobs come.
Since the road bond passed, it's been like a whirlwind. Everybody is just working to maximum capacity. Everybody really cares. In highways, they care about what we do, and that's why we do it.
I am very fortunate as a transportation professional to have Governor Justice as my boss.
This is the most exciting time you could imagine. To be put at the forefront of our economic recovery for the whole state by the governor it's humbling. It's a tremendous opportunity. I think our neighbors and our families are going to be really starting to see the difference.
Good morning. I'm Secretary Tom Smith of the West Virginia DOT. I'm joined on stage here by Jill Newman, our Deputy Secretary and Deputy Commissioner. Jill is a retired military, retired colonel from the Army, comes to us with a vast background of organizational excellence and helping us with what we do. Also joined by Carla Roach, our Deputy Secretary and Business Manager. She takes care of the dollars for us, makes sure we have those dollars where they need to be. And then finally, I have Aaron Gillespie, our State Highway Engineer, on stage with me. What I want to do is give an update on what's happening with the Roads to Prosperity program. But before I do that, I feel I really have to address an issue that is really a difficult issue. That Delegate Tim Miley recently sent a letter that said that the Highway Department, insinuated that the Highway Department had either deceived the public or were incompetent. And this is about the fact that we got bids on the I-70 project in Wheeling. The bids came in higher than expected. And so immediately this letter came across the transom saying you must have either lied to us or that you're incompetent. And so it's really a problem. It's a problem, folks. Now I want to back up and say this year I have been in this business for 40 years. I worked for an entire career for the U.S. DOT, 37 years there. Then I worked as the transportation person, the expert for the Appalachian Regional Commission in Washington, and then a year and a half in this job. I would not have come back to this job were it not for the way that Governor Justice asked me to take this job. He started my interview by saying, I am sick of West Virginia being 50th in everything. And I want to have people on board who can make a difference. And he said, I'm not a traditional politician, and that's very, very true. Now, I would not have come to this job were it not for that sort of an aspirational message. And what I have found is this job is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. Never worked harder. But I can tell you this, I've never had a better job and a more gratifying job than this one. And I want to say why. I want to say it's because of the people in the back of the room here. The hardworking men and women of the West Virginia DOT have been amazing during my time. And I know that they are working their tails off for you. What I've seen with the governor's program has required these folks to work their tails off, and they are. So I really take offense to what this letter said, that it accused the governor of deceiving the public. That is absolutely not true. It insulted me and said, you have apparently either been incompetent or insulted, or you've been incompetent or you've deceived the public. But it said it about the West Virginia DOT folks too. And it's just unacceptable, folks. Now, let me give an example. We had flooding the northern part of the state last year. I know there were DOT people who were working the flood while they knew their own homes were flooding. You look at what happens during snow and ice season when people are out on the road 24 hours a day working nonstop to make our roads safe. So it's just completely inexcusable to have this sort of an insinuation of this. And so I just have to start that. It's really a tough thing for me to hear that, and it is unacceptable. So, that being said, I do want to set the stage. I want to tell you what the truth is about this. That in 2012, the Blue Ribbon Commission was commissioned. And you, of course, can get this online, the Blue Ribbon Commission report. That commission met in 2014. There were report outs. The report was supposed to be issued in 2013. It was 2 years late. One of the findings on page 6, the Blue Ribbon Commission noted that the current state road fund revenues have not kept pace with inflation and no longer provide the financial resources to maintain the current system. If you look on page 8, the Blue Ribbon Commission said in order to keep up with what we need to do to improve our road system, we need over $1 billion a year of new funding. It's in the report, folks. Now that's the truth. And this was 2014. The report was issued in May 2015. Now, what do you think happened in 14, 15, 16? Nothing happened. No increased revenues. The fact was we needed $1 billion a year of funding to try to improve our system, and we got nothing until Governor Justice came along. And Governor Justice, as he talked to me, he said, you know, what we need to do is have you all at Highways find some way to kickstart our economy with the very biggest program of projects that you can get. Go pick up the projects where they are. Let's get them going. This will make a major, major difference in our state. It'll kickstart the economy. It'll actually get the investment done that the Blue Ribbon Commission said needed to get going on this. That the fact was nothing was happening until Governor Justice came in, had created this vision for the Roads to Prosperity program. So, what I know, the good men and women, the hardworking men and women of the DOH pulled together a program. They picked these projects up that were either stalled or proceeding at a snail's pace, and they started working on those programs. So what we did is we had a total program of about $2.8 billion, and as the film said, it creates thousands and thousands of jobs. And in a minute I'm going to give you some statistics that show it's working. It's actually starting to work now. So anyway, our folks picked those projects up and they started developing them again. And what I'll say is you encounter things as you work on these projects, that this is hard work to actually get these projects out there and going. Glad to see that we also have some of our uniform folks who are here. These are the folks who are out on the side of the road, and again, appreciate that you all are here too. These are the people who take care of our roads for us. Anyway, you encounter things as you develop these projects, and who would have known last year that we would have had the impact of steel tariffs on steel prices? That's something you encounter that we have to manage our way through. Who would have known that we would have had soaring inflation when it comes to construction elements, much higher than what was expected last year? Those are the sorts of things that we have to find a way to manage through, and we do. We find a way to manage through those. We also encounter things as we work with stakeholders on projects that are in things that we feel that we want to propose to do as part of a project. And I'm going to ask our state highway engineer, Aaron Gillespie, to come up and give you a few examples of that, because these are things that cause the cost of projects to go up. But they are good things and things that we think need to be done. And the Wheeling Bridges, which is one of the projects where we had the higher bids, has a number of things like that. So Aaron, come up and go ahead and share some of the examples. And Aaron's folks are the ones who are developing these projects as we speak.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I'm blessed to be here and thankful for the opportunity. I'm just a simple guy from Boone County, West Virginia. I've worked for the DOH 25 years, and I'm blessed to be where I'm at. And I've never worked with a greater bunch of people than I work with in highways. And when I look at what's printed and what's been said about what we do, I'm reminded of The Man in the Arena, and I'd encourage everybody to read that by Teddy Roosevelt. So I'll just leave you with that. Go read that. I have nothing but respect for what we do as highway men and women and the employees, and I'm talking about whether you're talking about the development of the construction projects, actually constructing them, or the folks over here that maintain them. We have people right now that are working like they do every day as hard as they can to try to put this program out, and we're honored to do that. I'll say this, in 25 years, I saw highways get on the back burner. We had our needs. Everybody wanted to talk about our needs. Well, we need to do this, we need to do that. But nobody wanted to provide a solution. And in the last 10 years, it almost became taboo to talk about. The Blue Ribbon Commission could come up with things that needed to be done, but nobody wanted to talk about and take the hard steps and to say, well, how are we going to fund this? How are we going to do this? And in January 2017, Governor Jim Justice came in with the State of the State address, and I saw highways move to the focal point of his Roads to Prosperity program. And not only was it good for highways and made us feel proud and get engaged and revved us up, quite frankly, livened us up, but it was not just about transportation. It was about economic recovery in a state that we all work in and love. And so I was excited to see that. I hadn't seen that, and I was always taught, and I've read, without a vision, the people perish. And for the first time, I saw that there was a vision there. And I want to talk to you about scope changes. I don't know if you guys have ever built a house, you've ever did any project around your house, but if you start on the first day, I've always heard that the mental creation precedes the physical creation. That means you have to see it in your mind before you build it. And in highways, that's a long process. And in that long process, there are requirements from the Federal Highway Administration. There's a NEPA process. There's a lot of steps along the way from the time we begin to plan a project to say, we're going to go up and fix a bunch of bridges like in Wheeling, to the time we end up getting that construction project there. And in that process, we have scope changes. I'm reminded when I built my first house that we were digging a basement. And the contractor said, if I run into rock, we're going to have a scope change. I can't dig that out with an excavator. I'm going to need a jackhammer. That means you're going to pay me to rent said jackhammer, and it's going to delay the project. And that's just building a house. You want to talk about building a corridor H or building something that's monumental, it gets exponentially higher from there. But scope changes are common. That's what we see. But I want to point this out to you. In the Highway Department and under the Commissioner of the Governor's leadership, we've done that with respect to having consideration for the people that travel the roadways, especially those in the local area. Our commitment is to listen to those people. Give you an example, up in I-70. Yes, that project came in higher than expected. But when you look at what we did in our process along the way, as we got in, when we first looked, we said, we're going to need to do 18 bridges. But as the process took a while to get to, as the process normally does, and we got in to inspect the bridges more thoroughly, we had to add 6 bridges to that scope. As we looked at our pavement in that area, we said, instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, why don't we just reconstruct it and fix it while we're here? Why did we do that? The people of Wheeling, the elected officials of Wheeling, the casino in the Wheeling area, that we communicate with the people locally who say, look, we know you're going to tie up our roadways for a while. We understand that. Can you get in, get things done, and get out and stay out? And so that's been our philosophy. Get in, get out, and stay out. And so that's what we've tried to do, not to tie up a decade of work in the Wheeling area. And so we're looking at those bids and analyzing them right now to see what's our scope now and how has that affected that. US 35. project that we're all familiar with. There's a contractor right now constructing 15 miles of roadway that'll be ready for the next project. The next project is to pave the 15 miles of roadway and connect it on both ends, the northern end in Mason County, southern end in Putnam County. If you look at the southern end in Putnam County, where the Buffalo exit is right now, where you have to get off and go down by the Buffalo Bridge, there's a plant across the river there that you guys probably heard of. It's called the Toyota plant. It's big news in West Virginia. As a district engineer formerly in District 1, which encompasses that area, I was asked, what are you going to do with this interchange? What are you going to do with this interchange? Do you realize what shift change will do when folks come up trying to access 35? Again, we responded by listening to the people, by looking at what are the needs of that intersection, by doing studies, and then by adjusting the scope to say, we don't want a stoplight condition there. We want a grade-separated interchange there so we can come up and let people on the roadway. That's what you do when you listen to people. You listen to the people that you work for. And I know these folks in the back understand we work for you, the citizens. Then the final thing I'll say is in the southern part of the state, our Route 10 Operational Improvements Project. It's a 70-mile-long project from Man to Kegley. Goes from Logan County through Wyoming County to Mercer County. That scope has changed, and you'll see that. But why has it changed? Because we want safe travels. We want school buses to travel in the area and not have to worry about truck traffic and blind curves and places that are dangerous. And so, yes, we've changed scope, and we have to evaluate that. Sometimes we get a little too big for our britches. We understand that. Sometimes we have to back down if the money won't support that. But that's a balancing act the Highway Department is used to. We've done it for years, and we're continuing to do it. What I'll leave you with is this. In all cases, we've been transparent with what we're doing, and we've never been any more committed than we are right now. And we applaud the governor for his program in putting this for us to give us an opportunity just to play a part in it. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. What I want to do is briefly say where are we today, what is happening. One of the best ways to control cost is to get things under contract and to get the projects done. Instead of just putting them off, we're not having the funding, it goes out for as far as the eye can see. No, the governor was able with the Roads to Prosperity program to finally get projects happening. What we're proud to say is today we have 225 projects completed. Now these were smaller projects, but they were projects we immediately started on. We have 225 projects already completed. We have over $300 million of Garvey-funded projects on the street in the contractor's hands. Those are projects that are being built as we speak right now. Over $300 million. By the end of the year, we'll have over $1 billion. Jordan, I think you're going to put these up. These show, and I don't want you to read the list. What I want you to see is that this is a lot of work all over the state. Those are the Garvey projects, Garvey 1, Garvey 2. Next one. Those are the general obligation bond projects. Those are the really expensive projects like the Wheeling Bridge, like the Nitro St. Albans Bridge, all over the state there as far as these regionally significant corridors. And then finally, the turnpike bonded projects that are just, the bonding is just being completed right now that you can see that's going to support work in 10 southern West Virginia counties. And so this work is going to be under contract by the end of the year, and it'll be over $1 billion. Now, that will generate jobs, that'll take care of the infrastructure in those areas, and it's just a hard-running start. But look at what the governor said with that job creation. The consulting industry, my friend Michael Haid, who represents the consulting industry, has talked that there's been a 30% expansion with consultants working in West Virginia. That if you actually look at the Construction Contractors Association of West Virginia's newsletter, it makes this statement. For the past number of years, West Virginia has ranked last or next to last in construction employment. Guess what it says now? And this was in June. For the 4th month in a row, West Virginia continues to lead the nation with the highest percentage of new construction jobs during the year, according to recent analysis by the Associated General Contractors of America. So folks, I'm here to say this stuff works. What the governor has his vision is starting to take place now, and it's happening around us, and it's a really good thing. Now, I want to end with one slide here that shows what the governor said to me in that first interview was that I want to do wise investment, I want to bond money while the rates are good, and get a lot of work started that'll help kickstart the economy, and you can see that here. That's as you go down this row, the Garveys, Garvey number 1, Garvey number 2, Garvey number 1, general obligation, Garvey number 2, and then the parkways. And in total, we have about $1.3 billion in the bank today. Now, if you look at the green column there, this is something that if you have wise investment, if your investments are credit worthy, then the investors will give you additional dollars. It's called premium. And what they do is they say these are additional dollars because we want to invest in your package. And so the premium is generated as a result of the way bonds are sold. And what you see there at the bottom line is $169 million. That's $169 million that we didn't have when this program started. And if you look finally at the 2 boxes at the bottom, plus additional premium from future bonds, we're only halfway through. Now, we didn't put a dollar amount in there because what I will say to you all is subject to market conditions. That affects the blue boxes down there. But there's additional premium from future bonds. And then what we're doing is that $1.3 billion as we invest, as we spend that money down on projects, we also have it invested in short-term investment accounts, and it's generating additional earnings as well. And so those 2 blue boxes taken together at the bottom comfortably will be over $100 million more dollars. So again, I think it speaks to what the governor had in mind with this program when he started. Again, 2014, we didn't see the state do anything with roadway investment beyond just what we had. And we were told it wasn't enough. 2015, nothing. 2016, nothing more than just what we had. 2017 is when this has started. Folks, I can just tell you it's remarkable what the good, hardworking men and women of the Highway Department have done for you as a state. And Governor, I'd like to turn it back to you and just say thank you for what you've done.
No, thank you guys for what y'all have done and what you do every day. You know, I don't know how to say this other than just say it. But you just look around. You know, the other day, I was driving from Lewisburg to Union, West Virginia, and then on to Virginia Tech to take a bird dog that was really, really sick, and it had been checked out by local vets and said, we have to get her to a veterinary, you know, a medical school. And so, but as I was going, the road had been completely resurfaced. And all I really could think about was just how nice the road was. And I just kept thinking that, and I don't know any other way to say it, you know, how shameful, you know, Delegate Miley and disgraceful it was to say the comments that he said about not only me, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, people can say anything they want about me, but when they say stuff about my family, it really, really is going to get addressed. And these people and you are my family. You do great work. You need to hold your head so high and be so proud it's unbelievable. For somebody to suggest that you're incompetent, basically, that you didn't have the foresight to be able to put together the proper estimates and design and whatever in your bid work, that's shameful. It is absolutely totally shameful. You know, to think that it was brought out that I would deceive people, or the secretary would deceive people, or these great people would deceive voters. Not only is it shameful, it's a lie. So I want you to hold your heads high and know that not only am I proud of you, but the people of this great state are proud. Now, I can tell you this too, that I want it really, really clear, something here. All these people that are up here, all you people that are in the media here, with the exception of one, and that is the Charleston Gazette. You do great work. And I'm not just beating up on the Charleston Gazette, but I'm just telling just the fact, the brass tacks facts. The Charleston Gazette for years and years and years has driven people away from our state. has driven business away from our state. And you can like it or not like it, but it's just fact. Now, throughout that time, I've been critical about my time here about the fact that we write too many things that are just negative. The other day I spoke to you about my taxes. And I said in my taxes very clearly that I wanted to tell you a story that happened with the Russians in which I paid. I didn't have to do this, but I paid taxes that were Russian taxes to counties because I love those counties. Today in the Charleston Gazette, there's some guy, I have no clue who he is, but he writes about that I'm not respectful to law enforcement, or I was not involved in your flood situation and I caused people harm there or whatever. And it's just one thing right after another, right after another. None of that's true. Unfortunately, and if you were to bring people, I could line them up miles long that would say that our supposedly state newspaper hurts our state. I couldn't say it any more direct. Marshall Reynolds is a friend of mine. Doug Reynolds is a friend of mine. I would have expected so much more. You don't know the impact that you have towards perpetuating negative stuff that hurts us. Now, there's enough negative stuff around. I mean, for crying out loud, what's going on right now with the Supreme Court is bad stuff. And it hurts our state. It hurts our state. You have to report it. But it still hurts us, Now, there's plenty enough negative stuff. I said the other day that the article in regard to the PSC, that was a screw-up, a big-time screw-up on my part and everything. Now, not on my part, because I wouldn't have had any idea about it, but my people were in conversation with them back and forth and everything, but they didn't get it done. That's our fault. I have no problem with admitting when I'm wrong. But I'm going to tell you what is written in here by this guy, and let me tell you his name, because this is really interesting, and I'm going to have, I don't have my glasses, so I'm not even going to be able to see it. But I think his name is, can you read that for me?
Rafe Godfrey.
Rafe Godfrey. And here's his picture right here. Now, he probably worked on this article for 3 weeks. And somebody paid him. Somebody paid him, probably worked on it for 3 weeks. It's garbage. It's garbage in the end. But here's the thing that is so terrible about it. And this sounds horribly egotistical, but it's just fact. You see this fingernail on my little finger? The very, very tip of that fingernail, I would tell you that I have cared for, done more, and loved more for the state of West Virginia and its people than this guy will do in his lifetime. We got to stop this stuff. We'd have to. We got to stop doing what's happened to these great people here and these great people back here. You deserve more. That's why I called Tim Miley Nancy Pelosi. Absolutely, you deserve more. It's nothing but garbage politics. To take that cheap a shot at you is shameful. You do great work. We're doing great stuff in West Virginia. Anybody that would pull their head out of their hind end would say immediately just how good things are going in West Virginia today versus where they were 20 months ago. You're doing great stuff. And I love you for it. And I love all the rest of y'all. And I hope to goodness that the Gazette will get on board too. Believe it or not, I love Phil. I do. And I want goodness for Phil. I really do. I really, truly do. You know, all I want is just this, is when I'm in the wrong, blast me. When I'm not in the wrong, just looking for something to be vile about is not right. And it's not right to do that with our state. Now, I'll end by just saying this. How many of you know people that have made their riches in West Virginia and left and are in another state today? How many of you know? I can name a list a mile long. They absolutely made their riches here and left. I can also tell you that every last one of them will say, "You'll leave too, Justice. You'll leave too." Because if you listen to how you're beat up and you listen to what goes on in that newspaper down there at the Capitol, they'll drive you out of here too. Well, they're not going to drive me out of here because I love each and every one of you. But every day that you drive somebody else away or prevent somebody else from coming, it hurts us. Now, I'm not whining about anything about me. I am telling you that we have got to be proud of our own pond. That's all there is to it. And this kind of crap toward these people, I can't say it any more blunt than this. You can say what you want to say about me, but saying this about these great people and these great people pisses me off. That's all there is to it. And Miley ought to be ashamed of himself because you do great work. That's all I got.
Tom, you're talking about some of the issues with the stoves, and you're talking about some of the price increases that we're starting to see. Can you go a little further into that? I know on your all's website, I know it looks like asphalt is on the rise once again. So what would you say are the biggest drivers right now that are causing at least some of these projects to kind of go up in price?
Well, what I think I would say is that we have pluses and minuses. And it's our job as managers of this program that the pluses that are cost increases to try to mitigate and minimize those. The minuses where we can find ways to save money or what I put up here on the board that shows about $300 million of additional funds that we've been able to generate by getting these bond packages together. That's the way you manage the pluses and the minuses and we're fully committed to that entire program that the governor talked about. Fully committed to that, and our job is to manage the pluses and minuses to get there. But we have ways that we can do this. We can turn, if asphalt is, and it is, asphalt is one of the areas that's rising, we can actually turn and try to get other types of work, like focus more on grading work, for example. So we have the ability to actually move the type of work we're doing to different things, and doing that you can actually help those pluses and minuses. One of the things that I find as secretary, people don't understand how dynamic the world is that we live in. Things change every day, and we have to try to figure out how to take care and make the good things happen, and if there's something that's coming at us that's negative, we have to try to find some way to mitigate it. So yeah, the tariffs on steel are affecting steel prices. There's no question about that.
Well, kind of a quick follow-up to that too. What are you seeing as far, I guess, with these projects and these bonds, and you can talk about, $1.3 billion in the bank. I mean, do you have room to play with depending on what comes in higher than you expect?
Yes, I think we do, absolutely. And what I said earlier about getting contracts in the contractor's hands is the best way to control price. The Garvey projects, every one of those on those two slides, and it's 67 projects, every one of those are contracts on the street. If you look at our estimate, and the way we do this is we look at those 67 projects taken together and then compare it to what our estimate was. Taken together, it was under the total of them in aggregate was under the engineer's estimate. So, the fact is the national economy's heating up. That's a good thing. Economic growth nationally and particularly economic growth in West Virginia. So we have to figure out how to manage those pluses and minuses and get that entire list of projects done. The other thing that the governor has asked us to do is to really start trying to focus on those little backcountry secondary roads. That's one of the things of feedback that we get from folks is, hey, we see you doing a lot of big work, but we want you to work on our little backcountry roads. And so we are currently moving in that direction. Those are very simple projects you can get out quickly through purchase order paving. Our contractors have said that they will be happy to try to focus on that over the next several months, and the governor said get some of that work going and do it in a big way. We're putting millions of additional dollars into that type of work. So you move around, you try to be agile on your feet and manage according to what's happening.
Specifically with the I-70 bridge replacement that was mentioned in Tim Riley's letter, is that about the asphalt cost? Is that about steel tariffs? Can you just break down that project, why that came in?
Well, there's pavement reconstruction in there, so pavement does enter. There's certainly a lot of bridge steel in there. That enters. We are taking a careful look at that. We have a number of days to carefully analyze that and try to figure out what the options are. We're open to all options. We're going to go to Governor Justice and come to him with some options and make a recommendation to him. He will tell us whether to award that project. He might tell us to can't afford that pavement reconstruction, pull that pavement reconstruction out, but get the bridges taken care of. He will have several options like that, and we'll have to make a decision on that. There are ways to lower the cost. There's ways to look at that and decide, well, maybe we work with some of those dollars that more than cover that and take care of it. That's the hard job we do, but we'll be talking to Governor Justice as we complete our analysis and making a recommendation, but giving him options to actually help us.
I just wanted to say one thing here real quick, just to follow up with Tom. You're getting some exercise, aren't you?
I need it, Coach.
Yeah, and so do I. And that's just this is, and this is what I keep going back to, the same thing. You can clearly, if you're objective and honest and dealing with fact, you can clearly see from Secretary Smith and whomever here that there's going to be bids that go up and are higher than what we anticipate. Who would have thunk that oil prices would be $70 a barrel today? I mean, not long ago they even dropped as low as I think 25, but $30, $35, nobody would have anticipated oil being at $70 a barrel. Who would have thought that the state of West Virginia would have the level of surpluses and all that kind of stuff? Well, probably not many people would have thought that either. You know, Tom has told you, and I want to make sure everybody gets this loud and clear, that at the end of the rainbow here right now, we've got $169 million extra dollars that we didn't think we were going to have, that we have, and at the end of the rainbow, he thinks that number is going to be $300 million of extra money that we didn't think we'd have. He didn't think steel prices would be what they are, or he didn't think the tariffs would be what they are, and neither could have any of y'all. Things change. Things change. But none of that excuses accusing these people or me of deceiving people or saying that you people are incompetent in what you do. I think about what he said just a minute ago about the guys that are men or women that were working in the flood trying to help others when their own homes were flooding. You think how you would feel if you were one of those and Delegate Miley said you're incompetent or you can't tell the truth. I mean, that's what this is about. This is about just this. There's going to be up and there's going to be some down, and every single project is going to get done.
Governor, have you talked to the President about the harm that his steel tariffs are causing to the state, possibly alleviating that?
Phil, you couldn't possibly be serious about such a thing. What this president has done to help the state of West Virginia is off the chart, whether it be tax reform or whatever. And I really believe, at the end of the day, you know, it's another thing, the Chinese delegation. You know, today on a national level, we're having issues with China, right? You know, we are. Well, would you not think it's surprising that the Chinese delegation's coming next week? And they want to be assured that things are still full steam ahead in West Virginia. They are. Now, I surely can't dictate what's going on at the national level. Steel prices or steel tariffs, they could have possibly hurt West Virginia, and they could hurt in certain ways. However, the overall net gain in the end will be unbelievable for this country. Our president, all he wants to have happen is fair play. Today, we have a $500 billion trade imbalance with China. $500 billion a year. We have all kinds of trade imbalances with people in Europe and every place else. And what he's saying is, let's look out for us first. And what your governor's saying, let's look out for West Virginia first. Okay, no more questions. We're out of here. Thank y'all so much. Especially thank y'all and you guys. Thank y'all. Thank all y'all. Wait. I forgot one thing. I need to read this to you. On the right-of-way issue, I have directed Secretary Tom Smith and the Department of Highways to immediately release all approved right-of-way access permits to remove all barriers to broadband and utility development which we so badly need in West Virginia. I've also directed the Department of Highways to set the fair market value of the right-of-way access at $0. So we're not going to ask anybody to pay anything. I am confident the legislature will agree and update this law in the next session. Anyway, thank you so much.